All right, last but not least, nCino now. Come on up. Welcome.
Thanks, Mel. So we see the market opportunity for nCino at just over $3 billion. And the two sub-verticals, if you will, that we focus on within financial services, banking and credit unions. You can see the number of banks, which is sometimes surprising in the US, and the number of credit unions also in the US. The blue represents our specific target on the banking side. Community banks in the 300 to 10 billion represents assets that the banks hold, and then 10 billion and up. So you're talking about roughly 2,100 banks that we're specifically targeting. The smaller banks, we don't really focus on, specifically because our strategy as a SaaS solution is land and expand. So we are ultimately going to be an end-to-end system across the bank. And so our opportunity is to get into the bank, generally through the commercial lending side, and then expand across the bank. And so the larger the bank, obviously the more the opportunity. Similar with credit unions. Just under 900 credit unions that we're going after within the US, again, based on asset size and also business lending. Where this opportunity really gets interesting is when you start thinking about the extra services that our platform, which is the operational system, cloud-based bank operating system for the bank, can start pushing through. So as we start providing flood certification, credit pulls, and partner with other companies, all that will run through nCino. And so we're actively working on partnerships today. We have a few in place for credit pulls, things like that. CBC Synovus is one of them. But what's really exciting too is that banks and credit unions, they deal with so many vendors. And so part of their strategy is to eliminate the number of vendors to deal with. And so again, nCino falls right in the right spot in that situation. Not to mention regulators who are putting additional scrutiny on banks to make sure they do due diligence on their vendors. So again, these trends are very much aligned with nCino and our market opportunity. So what is our solution? For those who are familiar with banks and credit unions, there's something called the bank or credit union core, which is very much the 1970s sort of green screen, pecking at a keyboard type system, slightly updated for today's banking needs, if you will. But it's very much a transactional system, as is some of the plumbing in the bank, ACH, online banking, those sort of things. So what nCino becomes is the brains behind the bank, the system that sits on top of all this stuff, extracts the data, and becomes a single system to operate the bank for every employee. Here's an example of the solution, just one of the value points that nCino provides. All of us have probably gotten a loan, business and or consumer. It's a train wreck. You have all these stakeholders, not only at the bank, but you have appraisers and lawyers involved, not to mention the customer. You have all these systems. You still use fax machines. You still drop off paper copies of documents. You email them. And what this creates is communication problems. It creates redundancy, it creates frustration, and ultimately it makes it tougher for the bank or the credit union to get you a loan, makes it more frustrating for you to figure out if you're approved, and ultimately if you're going to get the money. Enter nCino, a single, secure, cloud-based solution for the bank, where everyone's interacting in a single place for that loan file. This is just one example of the solution and the value that nCino provides to these institutions. Keeping in mind that it extends to the regulators as well. So imagine if you're a regulator coming in every year to do an examination, on that bank. Do you really want to sit down and look at 1,000 loan files that are this high with paper? Or do you want to log into a single system securely, say, I want that loan file, pull it up, click, there's the document you want to see. We've raised $21 million to date. We are not actively looking for capital at this time. I think great validation for any type of business is who invests in it. And our investors represent well-regarded individuals in the financial services and technology industry. For those who are familiar with Gene Ludwig, former comptroller of the US currency, now runs one of the probably preeminent risk management firms in the world for financial services, an investor in nCino. Probably heard of John Mack. Wellington Management, $834 billion investment firm. Not to mention the fact that they are investors in 2,100 financial institutions around the world, so you understand why we're partnered with them. And last but not least, we are built on the Salesforce platform. I know that was a topic earlier. Salesforce is an investor in nCino. We think in part because of the technology, because we're an OEM partner, because they missed out on Viva and they don't want to miss out on nCino. Here's our revenue projections. You can see in this year, we're expecting to end the year about 7.5 million. You see the growth. This is a combination of probably conservative and aggressive, so we'll call this realistic in terms of where we expect to be around 2017, 2018. Keep in mind, I have not mentioned a single bank outside the US. When you start considering banks in other countries, you start getting particularly excited about the nCino opportunity. The team. Launched in 2012, so we're a little over 2.5 years old. We are very proud to be headquartered in Wilmington, North Carolina. One of the things I think differentiates us, 102 employees, half of which are bankers. So unlike many financial services companies that are selling software developed by programmers who have never processed a loan or never taken a deposit, we have people who understand how banking works, and our company was born out of a bank in Wilmington, North Carolina. We have 58 customers, almost 4,000 licensed seats, so we're a SaaS model, so we sell licenses on a monthly per user process. We have negative churn, and our customer acquisition cost is less than 2 years. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our North Carolina customers, one of which, Square One, incredibly innovative bank, one of our great customers based in North Carolina, a sponsor of this event, and our other customers, Live Oak Bank is sort of where we were born out of, and this is the last thing I'm gonna end with because I see them over time. Think about this, Live Oak Bank is our oldest running customer. That's where the product originally came from. Live Oak Bank is the #3 originator of small business loans in the entire United States based in Wilmington, North Carolina. They trail Wells Fargo and US Bank. Anyone guess how many employees Live Oak Bank has? 152, and they're the 3rd largest originator of small business loans in the country, and they've been using the nCino system since 2008 before we were even a separate company. Thank you very much.
So Jonathan, phenomenal progress for a 2-year-old company. It sounds like there was a little bit of history within the other parent, but I'm really curious about the pricing and who pays for the product. I appreciated that mess of 15 different parties who all need to coordinate, and this is a collaboration platform for that to occur. Is it the bank, or do attorneys or other folks contribute to the fees somehow?
No, great question. So the bank itself or the credit union pays the license costs. So in other words, all the individuals at the bank who are going to be using nCino, make it up 50 users, they're going to be paying, we're probably averaging about 3-year contracts, but it's a monthly per license fee, averages about $150 per license. But we have different variations. So in other words, if an attorney wants to access the system, we have what we call a partner license. And again, this is the value of the Salesforce platform, is so the bank will pay for that partner license and give it to the attorney to use.
Okay. So $150 per bank that's using this per month.
That's about the average per license, per user.
Oh, per seat.
Month.
Okay.
Per seat, per month. So you multiply it out by 50 users over 12 months. And
okay. That's great.
With Salesforce as an investor, do you still have to pay that new 15% deal?
So yes, a part of, we are one of the few OEM partners who does resell Salesforce, the CRM, as part of the nCino system. And yes, we do pay a license percentage to Salesforce.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. And is it true you were a professor before joining the company?
Yes. I was a professor at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and I used to teach out of a book, and I've discovered that the real world's a little different than books, but having a blast at nCino.
And you were at IBM before that, right?
I was at IBM before that, correct, yes.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much.